All right, so this is the product I've been working on for the last few months. I posted something on Reddit, and quite a few people reached out to me. They want to know more about it, so I'm trying to make a quick video. So this is the UI in Q-SYS. Basically, this is just a test design, so don't worry too much about this. But basically, there's two UCI that I created. The basic is basically done. The Pro still have a few things I need to work on, but it's mostly done. The beauty of this UCI, you don't have to write any code, you don't have to drag any components over, you don't have to do any connection. Basically, it's done everything basically through this kind of wizard. As you can see on this right side of the screen, that was the Pro. That's the basic UI. Here to start, as you can see, the step one is basically select which kind of feature you want. You can select whichever feature you want, and the UI will update it. Very easy, like as I said, you don't have to write any code, everything is done in the background. So if you click on the displays, you got display ingest. This select the source that go to displays, and this select the source that go to the ingest. Also it's got the auto sources, basically there's a priority. So if you select auto, as you can actually disable auto, you can select whichever sources you want. And when you select auto, because there's no sources connected right now, basically deselected. Even here, like you see, you can tell how many sources you have. In this case, it's 5, which is the highest number that you can have in this UCI, but you can have, I don't know, 2 sources, and the UI will update it. Also, another cool feature is that you can select which icons you want. At the start, it's only basically made only a few, but as you can see, you can just on the drop down, you can select which icon you want. HDMI 1, cable TV, there's HDMI 2, you can do it all updated automatically without writing any code. Here's the source's name, you can select whichever source name. There's mostly for like a version 2 of the product. Right now, there's not much use for it, but I'll show later what it will do with the Pro version. So for the cameras, here's another one. You can select how many cameras you have. In this case, 4, which is the maximum amount of cameras you can have. But if you only have 2, you can select 2, and you got the 2 cameras. You can name the cameras, for example, table and, I don't know, whiteboard. And boom, the two buttons now, they are relabeled. And another cool feature is the presets. As you can see, if you select the camera, it's got 3 different presets and the home position. And if you hold it down, the button, so if you click on it, you can select the preset. If you hold it down, it will save the preset, and then you can recall it. Same thing for the home. Even the home, you can just pick whatever you want, hold it down, and you save the presets. Very easy for the end user. Don't have to go inside of Designer to change all that stuff. It does automatically here. As I said, you don't have to connect anything here. You don't have all these buttons work out of the box. The only thing you have to do, you have to enter the name of the camera router, which you need to set in Designer, and the name of the camera bridge. That's it. That's all I think you have to do. Everything else is connected on the background for you. Moving forward, sound, that's where you can select the levels of the sources that you have. In this case, you can select the source name. You can select how many sources you want. In this case, I don't know, 3 sources. And here, for example, if the source 1 is laptop, let me see, there we go. You got laptop. And the bug I'm having, like for example, source number 3, let's rename it to source number 30. See, there's this bloody thing. But now if I go to 4 and updates, I don't know what's going on. I think it's something to do with Designer. I'll work it on, but basically what I want to show is just basically you can select how many sources you have. You can select the source name, automatically populates that. Apple TV, I don't know, boom, updates automatically, don't have to do anything. Everything is done here. Even then, you got your mute buttons. Obviously, you can mute all the buttons and restore the default level. Even then, the restore default, I'll show you in another time, but basically this is just a preset. It's one of the few things you have to do is basically, if you go down here, you got this restored audio gain. That's the only thing you need to do, is I need to create a couple of connections to make these buttons work, but there's no code. You probably know how to do that anyway, so it's pretty easy, straightforward. Okay, last one for this UCI is the room. Even here, you can select which features you want in the room. Right now, we got lights, toggles, shades, and blackouts. But for example, your room doesn't have blackouts, so doesn't have shades. You can just hide them nice and easy. You can select lights. You can select how many scenes you got. Maybe you only have 2 because you are only on and off. You can just do on, you can do off, boom. And automatically update it. And even here, you can do the connection from down here. You will have multiple components that you have to make work for your light control. But for the UI standpoint of view, you don't have to do anything. You just basically select how many lights you want, the name, and you're done. And room control, same thing. You can select, right now you can add to up to 3 toggles. We can only have maybe 1. You can rename toggles to whiteboard light. I don't know. You can do, let's see, that's another thing. There we go. The same bug. Anyways, you can basically control, you can have the toggles that you want, up to 3 toggles, and name it the way you want it. So basically that's it for the UCI, the basic UCI. And this is the UCI Pro. The difference basically is that in the Pro compared to the basic, you got the BYOM or BYOD page and the status page. So this one, I haven't done it yet in Q-SYS, but I can send you the file for Figma so you can have a preview. It's gonna look something like this. So if the laptop is connected, then you can start the BYOM and the BYOM. And also you can select which features you want. If you maybe you only want sound and screen sharing and you don't want the camera, you only want the camera, but you want the audio from the computer going, the user can select. By default, all 3 will be selected, so the user doesn't have to think too much. You can just start a button and goes. And if there's no device connected, it will tell you, basically prompt the user to connect the device. It's pretty straightforward. And the status page will look something similar to this. Basically with the system, if there's anything going on in the system, the temperatures, the sources, and the network. You're gonna have the clock master, the IPs for the 2 network, and whatever else is it's gonna be on the network, any other issue. I haven't completely done this one just because I don't have physical hardware at the moment to work on, so I need to have physical hardware to see what I can actually see and control through the UCI. But basically it will look something similar to this, and the peripheral, what's connected, what's not. Okay, so going back here. So the wizard looks a little bit more complicated than the basic because the BYOM and the status is going to be probably more of this in the future, but this is what I've done so far. So display, okay, so the display, the Pro version of the display has 2 displays plus the ingest. So you can select display 1 and display 2. In this case, we have Teams on both displays. The icon actually need to update it because right now this is output 1 of the MTR and this is output 2 of the MTR. Basically on display 2, when you select Teams, it actually goes to HDMI 2 of the MTR and on HDMI 1 of the MTR on display 1. But even then, you can select whichever sources you want for both displays, and we'll I select the same source. Basically, yeah. You can have different sources on the display plus the ingest. The ingest is basically the same as the other one with manual and auto. And the other feature, like the difference is you got the mirror display. So if you want to mirror the display 1, now you got display 2 is disabled. And now whichever you select in here, basically will mirror on the second display. Here's a feature. So when you mirror it, okay, let's select HDMI 2 on the display number 2. And now you mirror it. Okay, let's select. It now is basically the same source. If I go to mirror display again, it goes back to the previous, whichever was selected before you start mirroring, unless you select Teams. If you select Teams and if you remove mirror, the display 2 goes to Teams. That's for the best, but the best experience for the end user. So don't have to go and switch it back if you select Teams. Okay, the other cool feature about the Pro is these advanced settings. Advanced settings is basically a full matrix of the system. And here where the labels we were talking about earlier comes to place. You can have all of these labels that you're setting up here that actually is going to populate all these buttons. I haven't done it yet, but this is coming out on the final release. So basically, you don't have to guess whichever. You're going to have the labels there pulled from these basically fields that you're filling out here. Another cool feature for this one is the LEDs. So now I'm simulating there's active source. This is for teams 1 and 2. We got both sources selected. And for example, you got this source is selected. As you can see, there's auto switching. So this now got selected on the ingest because this is now active. You can see whichever are active, you can see the green lights, so you know which source you can select it. Restore default is pretty straightforward. You basically restore default to none on the ingest and the teams 1 and 2 here. If you select another source, it goes back to whichever was. Okay, and that's displays. I don't want to repeat myself here, but basically you got the same thing, same number of same number of sources, icons, and all that stuff. Same thing. Cameras also very similar. You can select how many cameras you want, 2, 4, whatever. The difference is here that you got this advanced mode. Advanced mode is kind of like a director mode. So if you turn it on, I'm still missing some labels, but basically on the left side, you select which camera you want to control, basically the PTZ. So you can see you can change here. So this is like a preview before switching. So these are the live cameras. So right now I'm setting to the MTR, the first camera. So if you want to set the shot on camera 2, you select the shots that you want, you just press the buttons, whatever. And then once you're ready, then you can switch it. At this point, auto framing in privacy, I control all cameras. In the future release, in the future update, on advanced mode, you will have a control on the individual camera. So if you want to auto framing on the individual camera, then you have auto framing. If you select a different one, you can see if it's not auto framing enabled and privacy enabled, blah, blah, blah. So basically will be control on the individual camera. All right, so basically that's it for cameras. Sound, okay, sound here, same. This UI is basically the same as before, except you got these buttons at the bottom. Now you can control the volume of the sources like you did in the basic, but you can also have microphones. So if you select the microphones, now you got the microphone level. There's no levels right now coming through because this is just an emulator, but you will have the meter and then you can change the gain of that microphone and you also mute it. Another feature I will have to add is basically set to default, like we have here, the default levels, just in case some user will gonna go in and mess with the gains. You want to have the button, if they don't, or something is going on, just reset to whatever you guys decide was the right gain. And also, sorry, going back here, the microphone, same thing. You can select how many microphones you have. If you got 3 microphones, 5 microphones, whatever, and you can change them. So for example, microphone 1 could be the handheld 1, for example. Boom, it's updated. And if you got the second microphone, could be the lav 1, you got lav 1, and so on. So you can change all the labels from here without going into the variables or anything like that. It's pretty straightforward. All right, so the next will be room. Actually, room, let's skip this because it's basically the same as the basic at this point. You got the same thing, the scenes and the toggles, whichever was exactly the same as the basic one. BYOM status, I will do an update in the future, but I just want to show you what I've done so far with the 2 UCIs. I like how it actually works with this kind of like a wizard that I created. As I said, there's a lot going on in the background. As you can see, all these greens components are basically mostly custom UCI, custom scripts, other than the gains here. But there's a lot of like scripting on the background to make it work. I'm gonna show you in the future, I'm gonna do like a video how to actually import a UCI in your existing design. You can import like this UCI in an existing design in literally like a couple of minutes. You have everything. Then maybe the longest time might be to connect basically the active sources to here to this the priority switching and do all of that. But even then, it probably takes like 10-15 minutes. It will be basically have the UCI up and running and working. It's pretty cool. So I can't wait to to show you the final product, but I just want to give you a quick update of what I've been doing and what has been done so far. As I said, I'm still working on the cameras because I don't have physical devices right now. I would love to see the preview here to actually see these the PTZ, the control and all that stuff, because as I said, I don't want you guys to have to drag and drop the preview from here into the UCI. Everything needs to be done on behind the scene. You guys don't have to do anything. I just want to test if it actually works. So if I need to basically get in touch with somebody to get some hardware, so I can test all of that. But it's the same thing for BYOM and status. I still need to work on the hardware side, but it's pretty cool. I'm pretty pleased with how everything works. And if you guys want to see the old UI and play around, you can have both basic. You can take a look at both. This is like a Figma prototype. I can send you the link. And also, if you want to be the first one to try this out, I created like a form on my website. Actually, I can add that on the description, and you can fill out the form and tell me basically what features you're looking for. Like this is the thing that I developed, but maybe there's some stuff that you guys want and I can implement, or certain things. If you want to test it out, just fill out the form. So whenever I'm ready, I will reach out to the people that fill out the form to basically test them out. Awesome. That's basically it. If you have any questions, just let me know. But basically, this is a quick update for now. I'll do more in the future to show you what I've done with BYOM and the status. And that's it for now. Thank you.